Canadian smoke has made air quality unhealthy in Rochester tonight, but we play on. Washington wants all the smoke, trying to prove they're better than the drubbing taken from the Pioneers in round one. It's the largest point spread in the UFL this season. San Diego is a heavy favorite against the Sharks today. Will it be business as usual on the coast, or will the Sharks own the waters? And St. Louis may be a bit rattled after an upset loss to Tennessee last week. Can they avoid another? And the Bobcats hometown cooking. We'll watch it all tonight in the Virtual Zone. Week 10 continues right here on VFN. Sit back and enjoy the glory of 3 times the football as 90 minutes of UFL action starts right now. From Rochester, New York, San Diego, California, and Fresno, California, welcome to the broadcast. I'm UFL co-founder Cameron Irvine. Should be a great night of football tonight. Round 2 between Washington and Rochester. Metro Division rivals. Rochester, your current division leader there. Florida, 9.5-point underdogs tonight. They have a tall task on the road against San Diego. We'll talk about some improvements. Teams coming off a loss made here in just a little bit. And Fresno, sneaky good as Cardiac Squid gets a 13-yard carry on his first. The Bobcats currently 4-4 in the West. That's good enough for 8th place. St. Louis trying to bounce back after that shocking upset at the hands of Tennessee. Matt Wilson's first pass is caught to the 38-yard line. He is 1 for 1 for 13 yards. Zach Holdorf's in the chat. Let's go San Diego. Ernest McCrae's here supporting St. Louis. Think Outside the Box is always here supporting the UFL, but also a fan of the Wildcats. As Ronnie Everidge takes off running for Rochester down to the Washington 45-yard line. Good start for the Pioneers. We mentioned that air quality. Hope everybody in New York is okay. It's made for some very cloudy skies in New York. Sunny skies in California. No issues with weather there. Coming up tonight on UFL Primetime, it is Mike Daggs and Gerald Smith back in the booth, and they have a good one. The Vegas Devils. Joe Francis is sacked on 3rd down. Good start for San Diego. The Vegas Devils taking on the Cincinnati Vultures, who have lost 3 straight since starting the season 6-0, all by 1 score. That is coming up in primetime as Vegas plays quite possibly their toughest challenge yet on the road in hostile territory under the lights. Rochester's Matt Wilson has the football moving. That's Evan Wood on the catch. 3 for 3 for 34 yards. Pioneers looking strong on their opening drive. That first meeting with Washington, man, they took it to the Knights. It was brutal to watch, and hopefully we have a little bit of a closer game today. Washington, a little bit of an improved team. Rochester not humming as well, although humming on this drive. Casey Mears, first down to the 20 on her first carry of the game. Fresno shanks a punt out of bounds. St. Louis gets a stop on their opening possession, and they will get the ball at their own 22-yard line. This not only will keep going until the NFL starts, but it will continue on briefly into the NFL season. We've got playoffs going in September, and then the championship the first week of October. Should be a good time as we race to the playoffs. Let's go to Fresno, where St. Louis has the football right now. Karen Koizumi has the football at her own 22-yard line, and she'll start the game on a 2nd and 10 with a handoff to Junior McCrae for a loss of 2. Great start for the Fresno Bobcats defense. Washington trying to bow up. It's going to be 3rd down and 10 for Rochester. They have reached the red zone. First down coming up for, or 3rd and 12 rather, coming up for St. Louis. San Diego picked up the first down. Koizumi over the middle, that one nearly intercepted. And Fresno will get a stop on their opening possession. Back to New York. This shot into the end zone from Matt Wilson is his first incompletion, and that'll give us our first opportunity at points tonight. 4th and 10, a 37-yard field goal coming up for the Pioneers. Zach Holdorf and the Wildcats. Incomplete on that throw, trying to get into scoring position. 37-yard kick for Rochester. That kick is up and good. And the Pioneers have a 3-0 lead early on against Rochester. Going to be 3rd down and long for San Diego as Payne Price is thrown down. Last night on game night, we saw Houston lose after back-to-back runs with under 30 seconds to go and no timeouts. We tried to isolate that problem today. It's still not figured out what exactly went wrong with that. As that pass is intercepted, picked off. St. Louis is streaking down the sideline all the way to the 13-yard line of Fresno. So just like that, the St. Louis Rivermen have the football. Unclaimed inside linebacker Moses Hopkins with the takeaway, and Larry Randolph throws an interception, just a completely errant pass. Meanwhile, Holdorf is taken down in the backfield by Florida's Jefferson. So Florida's going to get a defensive stop. TJ Stevens and the Washington Knights offense on the field for the first time. Good looking play there from St. Louis, and they needed that. TJ Stevens wide open to Isaiah Moody for 18 yards down the field.
Let's go now. 30 base.
Number 53.
First turnover of the day. And the handoff goes to Junior McCray down to the 7-yard line. Deep punt from San Diego. Out of bounds, kind of dribbled out of bounds around the 8-yard line. That's where Florida will start their second possession. Karen Koizumi throws, caught at his Homer J down to the 1-yard line. Homer J's first catch for 6 yards. St. Louis knocking on the door. Dangerous ball in Washington. I believe they were. Did they lose a fumble on that one?
Encroachment, defense.
And an offside on the. We got to check in on that. What just happened in the Washington-Rochester game? I think they're ruled. Oh yeah, they ruled. Wow, that's an interesting ruling. We'll get to that in a minute. First and goal at the 1 for St. Louis. We don't want to miss a potential touchdown, and we got one. 1-yard score for Junior McCray. St. Louis is on the board. They take advantage of that early Fresno turnover as Everidge has his 3rd early carry for Rochester. Florida trying to make something happen. And let's go back to New York. 3rd down and 1 for the Sharks. I want to look at this play in real time. It looked like TJ Stevens tried to flip the football out. Yeah, and it hit a lineman. It hit a lineman, and it was recovered by Rochester. So even though the arm went forward, he had an empty hand after hitting his own lineman. So a stroke of terrible luck there for Washington, and not the way they wanted to start this rematch with Rochester. Wilson rolls to his left, strong side. That is complete for a 9-yard pickup. The first time these two teams met, Rochester won 34-14 over Washington, but that game was 27-0 at the end of the 3rd quarter. So some garbage time stuff from Washington late. And this is not a good start either. Casey Mears to the 27-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 1 for Rochester. That extra point is good, and 7-3. Your UFL Yugo free spaces, as it were, it feels like. Although the last primetime broadcast, we didn't have either come off the board. Joe Francis fires. That is complete to the 44-yard line. And how about that? Florida's got a first down, 2 for 2, 11 yards. That is Lamont Rutledge the second with the catch. And Rochester is back in the red zone. 7.5-point favorites over Washington. St. Louis, 4.5-point road favorites at Fresno. Spencer makes a nice catch. Wilson against some pressure, and Matt Wilson finds an open target for the first down. 6 of 7 in the early going. First and goal for the Pioneers. The pass was hauled in by Anderson. Maple Mack leads the charge for the St. Louis defense. First down and goal at the 6 for Rochester. The handoff goes to Casey Mears, and Mears walks in the end zone. Touchdown, Pioneers. Sauce K moving Florida down the field. Mears' run from 6 yards out has Rochester up 9-0. Almost another interception for St. Louis's defense. 2nd and 3 for Florida. Handoff to Sauce K. First down. 9 runs, 44 yards for Sauce K here in the opening quarter. Washington and Rochester both coming off of wins. Rochester beating Montana last game out. And then Washington with a thrilling 40-37 victory on the road in New York. By all accounts, probably should not have won that game. $10-0 for the Pioneers here early on. That's a 6 and a 10 off the board. Some low numbers in the early stretch here of Yugo. San Diego coming off a win over Denver. They have played a pretty soft schedule the last few weeks. Although Denver hung around in that game, Florida hanging around so far. They are in the red zone, actually. 3rd down and 1, and that pass is complete. Francis is 5 for 5 for 33 yards, and that is Mark Anthony with his first catch. And funny enough, Florida's adjustment this week was prioritizing their top targets in the red zone. That would include Mark Anthony and tight end Michael Joseph, who was without a touchdown this season, despite being one of the highest rated tight ends in the league. Fresno is approaching the red zone as they are countering St. Louis's touchdown drive. Dangerous ball, it is thrown backwards. It is picked up by San Diego and taken back the other way. There is no one around. Touchdown, Wildcats. Oh my goodness, this is the type of stuff that just is so frustrating for the Sharks. Trying to hit Gordon on a little screen to the outside to Anthony, and the ball whipped about 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and San Diego takes it all the way to the house for an easy one. What a shot. That is DJ Pathion with the hit, and he makes his best play of his young career. Has been with San Diego just a few weeks. And technically a fumble 6 for 50 plus, and the Wildcats just like that up 6-0. Beyond frustrating for Florida, as the extra point is up and good. 7-0 with 1 second left in the first quarter. And in a game like this, you can't give San Diego freebies.
Let's go now. 50, plant.
They're already tough enough. Oh, St. Louis with another pick. Jumping the route. That is CB2, Devon Palmer. As Stevens took off and run, Larry Randolph staring down his receiver, and Palmer steps in front of the pass with some ups and gets another pick. Second interception for Fresno here in the first half. And that's helping St. Louis's offense out big time. TJ Stevens with a 1st and 10, now down to the 21-yard line of Rochester. Stevens is off to a 4 for 4 for 51-yard start, despite being in the hole 10-0. Koizumi's pass way off the mark. And let's go to Rochester, where Washington is on the move. Handoff, Eric Kilgore. Knights in the red zone. Washington trying to get their first half points against Rochester this season. That is the end of the first quarter. Let's go to San Diego, where Florida is trying to bounce back off of that horrible fumble. James Corey with the TFL in the backfield for San Diego makes it 3rd down and 8. They are tough to run against. Nate Hall feeling it's going to be his night in Hugo. That's a Washington touchdown. Excuse me, 16 yards away. The Knights score. That is Brian Gilliard. I mean, wide open in the middle of the field. Nobody around him, nobody around Homer J either. 1st down for St. Louis. And Washington's back in this thing. Florida's got to punt it away. And that extra point for Washington is good. A 7-play, 73-yard drive. .16 is off the board. St. Louis has the football, back up 7-0 over the Bobcats after they turn the ball over in the red zone. Holdorf will hand the ball off to Price. Only has 2 yards on his first 4 carries. Florida's doing a pretty good job on Payne Price so far. Price leading the league in yards with 995. He needs just 3 more to have 1,000 on the season officially. San Diego playing in their 9th game. Very close to a 2,000-yard rushing season there. Zach Holdorf going to take off. 1st down to the 35-yard line. Bobby Green with that last catch for St. Louis. 1 catch for 8 yards. Or Bobby on a little hitch.
Let's go now. 60 Pittsburgh.
1st down for San Diego. 10:05 to go in the first half. Holdorf's going to drop the throw. Fires on a little out route. Picks up 8 yards. And there goes Matt Wilson down the sideline. A 20-yard pickup for Rochester to near midfield.
Let's make these babies cry all the way back home.
Matt Wilson.
Let's make these babies cry all the way back home.
Nice job. Payne Price cannot get the 1st down. Still at 2 yards rushing. Who would have thought he needed 5 yards coming into today that we'd be in the second quarter and he still wasn't at 1,000. Junior McCray on another carry. Matt Wilson's pass complete over the middle. That's Anderson again. Wilson is 7 of 8. Price this time stumbles forward, and he is the first UFL running back over 1,000 yards this season. 3rd and 2 for St. Louis. Handoff McCray, and he is stuffed. Now it's 4th and 2 coming up. This defense led by Brookie Burr, number 24. The offense led by Cardiac Squid. Fresno, your current 8 seed in the Western Conference. And they bow up there. 3rd down and inches. Casey Mears has the 1st down for Rochester. 8 carries, 35 yards for Casey. And St. Louis goes for it. They hand it off to the fullback, and he got it. 1st down. That is Greg Westling with the carry. Not often used in this offense, but St. Louis pulls out the tricks and keeps the drive alive as they hit the end of the first quarter. 3rd down and 8 coming up for San Diego. 7:23 to go in the first half. 7-0 over Florida. Holdorf looking for someone to get open and takes a sack. Still no offensive points in San Diego today as Florida's defense gets off the field again. Koizumi complete down the sideline. That one caught by Jay. 5 of 9 for 54 yards, and Homer Jay very involved in the offense right now. 4th catch for 44 yards here in the first half. 2nd down and 18 after Wilson took a sack. Wilson fires, and that is completely erased. Again, that is Anderson. 8 of 9 for 88 yards, but Anderson has been the favorite target, 3 already for the unclaimed receiver. Over Dijon Swan, Justin Reside, Evan Wood, all out there and available, but Anderson's the one getting open. Koizumi's got St. Louis in the red zone, and you know, if you've been following the Washington Knights, great punt by San Diego, by the way. If you've been following the Washington Knights, see Sasuke's updated numbers, you would know that this secondary is pretty lethal. Led by Jay Hayden. They are a force to be reckoned with. This is the 2nd time that Florida is starting a drive today inside their own 10-yard line. San Diego winning the field position battle in a low-scoring defensive contest. Mears got an 8-yard carry for Rochester that gets them into the red zone. Back and forth from New York to California. Matt Wilson going to take off and run around the left side.
Ready, break.
50 seconds to Mike. Check, 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 check. Watch twist. 5. Good job, offense. Good job. gonna be a long day, offense. It's gonna be a long day. He's checking, he's checking, he's checking. Crouch.
Let's go.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
Come on, set. 18 Gator.
I got him.
Let's go.
Max 22, 2, go. Come on, fellas.
First and goal, Washington.
Ready, set.
54. Mike 54. You got nothing to run.
Whoa. Did I mute myself? How long has that been going on? TJ Stevens over to the 4-yard line. I was just commenting about that unbelievable catch. Surely I have not been off this entire broadcast, right? I think I must have hit a wrong button. 2nd and goal at the 4. 5:01 to go in the first half for TJ Stevens, down 17-7. Stevens dropping a throw, has a clean pocket, back corner of the end zone for the score. That is Dorsey in the back of the end zone with the touchdown. Florida's got a first down all the way down to the San Diego 26-yard line. For Washington, that was a 4-yard touchdown. And Florida's starting to put some things together here late in the second quarter. Francis has been on the money. That was Gordon again with the catch. Extra point is up and good for Washington. So it is 17-14. Bit of a shootout as Florida's got another first down. Joe Francis, 13 of 14 for 112 yards. 101 of those have come through the air. That's Mark Anthony's third catch for 18 yards. Florida is in the red zone. Can they find their top targets? Francis, 1st and 10. All kinds of time to throw. We don't say that often when calling Sharks games. But that check down lost a yard. Sauce K's third grab. Fresno also appears to be just outside the red zone. First down and 10 at the 20. In fact, Fresno is in the red zone. And a penalty marker is down. It is a face mask. All right, here we go. Joe Francis, 2nd down and 11. That pass is caught. Down to the 12. Florida holding on to those timeouts. Francis, 15 of 16, and he is perfect on this drive. Florida trying to take all the time off the clock they can to not give San Diego another chance at the football. 3rd down and 6. Francis dropping to throw. That is complete inside the 5. Down to the 4. Timeout Florida. Cardiac squid down to the 3-yard line as Fresno tries to get on the board. That's Anthony's 4th grab of the day. 1st and goal at the 4. 19 seconds to go. Larry Randolph from 3 yards out. Randolph all day to throw and throws it away. 3rd and goal. Francis on a 1st and goal. Fires, caught, trying to get in the end zone, cannot. Timeout Florida. Down to the 1. And a face mask on Washington will help out matters. That's on Jay Hayden. Randolph, 3rd and goal at the 3. Larry Randolph and Fresno cannot get in the end zone. Sacked by Thomas. Randolph upset. That'll be a field goal. 2nd and goal at the 1 for Florida. Francis. It takes a sack. 3rd and goal at the 8-yard line. Florida calls timeout. And the Sharks, desperate for something to go right in the red zone. 3rd and goal at the 5. 30-yard field goal coming up for Fresno. Florida's going to go for it with 5 seconds to go in the half. Joe Francis, back of the end zone. Are you kidding me? Touchdown! Lamont Rutledge the 2nd. A phenomenal route. Oh, what a catch in the back. Man, how did he not go out of bounds? He was so close to the line. Are we going to get no review either? With 1 second to spare, Florida ties the game going into the locker room. 13-play, 91-yard drive, and that might be Florida's best drive of the season. A 30-yard field goal for Fresno got him on the board, 10-3. Mears is dropped for a loss, but that was probably the most exciting play thus far outside of the Burrow catch that I unfortunately was muted for. Karen Koizumi is sacked. Catledge gets in the backfield as Justin Reside has his 2nd carry of the day, but it's 3rd down and 11 for the Pioneers. How about the Florida Sharks hanging around this game, keeping Payne Price under wraps? A 7-7 contest right now in San Diego. We know the Wildcats are not the most explosive team, but they'll wear you down. Just 4 pass attempts for San Diego in the first half. Florida had the ball control, and they have a tie game. 2nd down and 18. Koizumi just gets rid of it. And a good check down to McCray. And a difficult catch. Rochester had 2 receivers right in the same area on 3rd and 11. That play did not work in their favor. Check it out again, upper left-hand corner. Both receivers fighting for the football, and Fresno gets an interception. We're not going to get a replay because of the 2-minute warning. But Fresno has just picked off Karen Koizumi, and Larry Randolph has new life. First pick of the day for the Riverman quarterback. The Florida touchdown was 8 yards away, and it was a thing of beauty. Fresno is in the red zone. Washington has the ball, down 3, 1:25 to go in the first half. TJ Stevens up top. That is a gain of 4. Stevens only has 1 incompletion today, 9 of 10. First down for the Bobcats, trying to score before the half. St. Louis brings pressure. It is picked up. Fresno down to the 6-yard line. And Zach Holdorf comes back out to try to get into a rhythm. San Diego less than 100 total yards of offense in the first half and nearly threw an interception. 2nd and 2, Randolph's pass, caught, touchdown, 6 yards. Hurd on the catch, and Fresno's an extra point away from tying the football game. Stevens over the middle has Washington humming. They're trying to take the lead before the end of the first half. Payne Price is dropped in the backfield. 15 yards on 12 carries. Florida's defense playing outstanding. Man, Fresno was down 10-0. Stevens takes a sack. And Washington will have to burn their first time out, 3rd down and 13. Fresno's extra point is good. 10-10 and 7-7 in our California pair of games. Holdorf's pass caught, 1st down, broken tackle. Payne Price, I think, now has more receiving yards than rushing yards. 3rd and 13 for Washington. Stevens unloads, has a receiver, caught, 1st down. Washington, 1 timeout, 25 seconds, so the next play in the field of play is going to incur a 10-second runoff, but they should be able to get 1 more off, so that's 2 plays to potentially get into field goal range. $51 seconds left for St. Louis to work with. All the momentum with Fresno right now. 1st down to the 25-yard line for Washington. Stevens, middle, caught, Kilgore. All right, so they got to hurry up and get to the line because that may not have even gotten them in good field goal range. Down to 11, down to 10, down to 9. They got to snap before 5 seconds. Stevens has to get to the line in a hurry, and Stevens cannot get the play off. This will be a tough decision for Washington as Karen Koizumi takes off. Her first run of the day for 19 yards. Timeout St. Louis with 2 left. Washington, 54-yard field goal would tie it. And that's what they're going to do. 54-yarder to tie the game heading into the locker room. Payne Price has a 1st down. That kick for Washington is good. Whoa, how do you like that? Martin with the field goal. TJ Stevens, Eric Kilgore, John Gary, and Jay Hayden. Gotta like that. Tie game at 17 in Rochester with 1 second on the clock. St. Louis has 1 timeout left, 30 seconds to go in that half. The Rivermen at the Fresno 35-yard line, so they're in a bit of a better situation than Washington is. Meanwhile, San Diego is driving down the field in scoring position as Koizumi throws a pass to the outside to Junior McCray. That was executed perfectly, getting out of bounds with 25 seconds left. Hand off to Price, 16th carry for 30 yards, but Price slowly but surely starting to get moving. Koizumi's got St. Louis. Well, no, almost in the red zone. Okay, now they have to hurry. Halftime in Rochester tied at 17. RPO, that is caught. Holdorf 1st down to the 20-yard line. St. Louis trying to get 1 more play off before, and they could not get it off either. Down to 5 seconds left. St. Louis will call the timeout to make sure they at least get something off the drive. They were up 10-0. Fresno has tied the game at 10, but St. Louis can retake the lead. Hand off to Payne Price. Got 5. 2nd and 5 for San Diego in a tie game. 7:20 to go in the 3rd. All 3 games right now are tied, although St. Louis just broke that. That's a 38-yard field goal for the Rivermen. Third and 5 coming up for San Diego as Florida's defense looks for a stop. Holdorf firing. And that is caught, but was it short of? Yes, short by a yard. 4th down and 1 for San Diego. What to do? A pass hauled in by Sir Jefferson. We are to the end of the first half in Fresno, the last game to go to the 3rd quarter. San Diego, they know that, or they trust in their defense. They're going to kick a 28-yard field goal from here, and that kick is good. That is your 17th called number tonight. TJ Stevens just took a sack for Washington. That game is still tied in Rochester. The Knights playing and giving a much better effort against Rochester the second go around. Nobody's in the red zone or close to scoring position. Let's pause for league rights. We'll be right back.
This presentation of the UFL is intended for the private use of our audience. Any accounts or descriptions of the game without the express written consent of the league office is prohibited.
Back to action here as Washington will be punting after Eric Kilgore caught the check down. E.K. Vincent out there to make the stop. Boy, Stevens took a shot at the end of that play as well. Florida's got the football back. They are outgaining San Diego 164 to 109. Their offense is outscoring San Diego 7-3. But the Florida Sharks trail because of an ugly disrupted backwards pass that ended up going for 6 for the Wildcats. 2nd and 9, Sauce K, big lane opens up, and he's got a first down. 15 carries for 62 yards. Don't forget, coming up, it is UFL primetime. Cincinnati hosting Vegas. 2 6-win teams going at it on a football Friday here on VFN. Mike Daggs and Gerald Smith with that call. How about Evan Wood down the sideline? Wood breaks a tackle. Touchdown, 75 yards. What a play by Evan Wood. Rochester retakes the lead. 2 guys missed him, including the stud safety, Trey Aleman. Check that, the corner, Aleman, right here had an opportunity to make the tackle, and Wood says, "You are too small." Wow, the Pioneers make the Knights pay. Washington was so close to taking the lead. And a monstrous play for Rochester puts them back up by 7. First play of the drive. St. Louis has to punt on their opening drive, protecting a 13-10 lead for Fresno. The Bobcats have not led today. Florida has not led today. Washington has not led today, but all 3 games are 1-score games. That is Francis, who is now 19 of 20. 4th catch for Michael Joseph on the day. And it's just crazy. Florida has moved the ball well, but they're losing the field position game. Cardiac Squid breaks a tackle. St. Louis misses another tackle. This is going 70 yards to the crib. Cardiac Squid, probably the most explosive running back in the league. It seems like once a game he has some of these, and St. Louis's tackling woes in the secondary come back to bite him once again. This time it was Clements, the slot corner, who was not part of St. Louis's upgrades this week in the secondary. And Fresno takes a 17-13 lead. Joe Francis deep, but that's a little too deep. That is our 3rd 50-plus score here on game night. Eric Kilgore on the run for Washington, trying to respond, just his 5th run, but that one goes for 38 yards. 3rd down and 4 for Florida. Joe Francis trying to stay on the field. That pass is caught. What a spin move to get away from the tackle, but it's short of the 1st down. 4th and 1 for Florida. Mark Franks on the tackle. DJ Pathion, who already forced a fumble early in this game. What a move by Jones. Zach Cobb, Alexander Ross, James Corey, part of the San Diego defense. The Quicks on the Sharks defense. Joe Allen, Han Tayumi, E.K. Vincent on the Pioneers defense. Gary and Hayden on the Knights defense. Dynamite McCray on the St. Louis defense. Brooke O'Neal on the Fresno defense. And Florida, from 56 yards away, that kick is no good. And San Diego will take over. Man, we have seen a couple of field goals, a couple of instances this week where instead of going for it on 4th and 1, we're kicking long field goals. I mean, we're talking about near record long field goals, and they're just not even close. That's another thing we're going to have to take a look at as a league to see if we can try to curve that logic into more 4th and short attempts. 1st down on a draw, handoff Payne Price, first play, Price breaks a tackle, there goes Price, it is a 54-yard score! Another 50-plus yard score here on game night, the 4th, what a play by Price, who has been bottled up the entire afternoon! Oh my goodness, that is a brutal hit, brutality served. And that's what San Diego does to everyone. They just wear you down until they finally get that knockout punch. Koizumi lost the ball, picked up by Fresno. Oh, game night is off the chain right now. Recovered by Banks. San Diego's extra point is good. We got to get I missed it there. Here we go, another look at it. Lower right-hand corner. Ooh, that right knee may have been down. I think that's worth another look. And Fresno making all the plays here in the 3rd quarter. No review. That is surprising. Stevens is sacked on 3rd and 7 by Cornish. 4th down, Washington. Squid again. Up the middle. Picks up 14. St. Louis for the 2nd straight week is getting gashed in the run game. Look at the lane for Squid. Man, we got to catch our breath. All those, look at Francis, 20 of 22, 1 touchdown, no picks. His team is down 10. They've made 2 critical mistakes as Squid has another 1st down to the 20-yard line. Florida has made 2 critical mistakes. They threw that backwards pass that ended up in a fumble 6. And then they attempt a 56-yard field goal. They miss it. The very next play, Payne Price goes for 54 yards. Casey Mears has gotten into the end zone twice, 14 carries on the day. Sauce K again is buried. 3rd down, Florida. In the red zone, this is a handoff to Squid, dropped in the backfield. St. Louis is reeling right now in the first 5 minutes of the quarter, and Clements made that tackle. 3rd down and 7 for Florida. That pass is incomplete again. Could not catch it. Contested. Rutledge was the intended target. Rochester's got a 1st down. That's Evan Wood once again.
Here we go. Set. 70. Indy.
Fresno has been pushed out of the end zone. Red zone, rather. Squid will get him back in. 3rd down coming up for Fresno. St. Louis desperate to keep this a 1-score game. Wilson fires it incomplete. Florida's got a punt. How quickly momentum can shift Larry Randolph into the end zone. Oh, it's a catch. Touchdown, Fresno. Muhammad with the score. And taunting Dynamite McCray all the way back to his bench. Muhammad goes up for it. It is officially a 19-yard catch. And Fresno is up 24-13. They have scored 24 of the last 27 points in this game. And has 2 touchdowns in the first 6 minutes of the third quarter. Let's check back in San Diego where Holdorf's trying to set up a screen. Rice is decked in the backfield and the third quarter. Rochester's got a punt on 4th and 4, so Washington's defense gets a stop. They're still very much in this thing. Rochester going to try to pin him deep. That they will, all the way down to the 4.
Come on, set. 50, plant.
Big stop, D. Big stop. Let's go.
Ready.
Holdorf on a 3rd and 5. Delivers. First down to the 37-yard line, 10 of 14 now. St. Louis has got to pick themselves up, and this is very similar to what happened against Tennessee. Tennessee used a monstrous run from Maurice Stokes, and they never looked back. 273 to 171 in total yards in favor of Fresno.
I'm scared.
Flip outside, not much there. Holdorf, play action rollout, going to take off and run, but Florida's all over that. Kilgore on the carry for Washington will set up a 3rd down and 5 with 4:25 to go in the third quarter. Hand off, Junior McCray gets 6. One of his best runs of the day, just 20 yards on 12 carries. 3rd down for Stevens. And the Knights, that pass is complete to the sideline of the 22-yard line. Over by the inaugural season patch on the grass. Pass caught by Dorsey. Koizumi to the sideline. 3rd down and 4. Homer J, 6 catches for 68 yards, and the 3rd down is converted. Harris with a grab for San Diego, and another move of the chains for the Wildcats. 10:30 to go in the fourth quarter. Man, the Florida game is just all 3 games are fascinating in their own ways right now as Junior McCray takes the handoff. St. Louis on the cusp of taking another upset loss. Although this one a little bit more believable. Fresno has been very solid all season long. But Florida has really only had made 2 bad decisions today, and it's essentially resulted in 14 points for San Diego. 3rd and 4 for Washington. Can they convert another 3rd down? Yes, they can. Gilliard to the 40. And in Washington's wins, their signature has been their clutchness. Look at Payne Price on 2nd and 11 on a draw. What a play. 3rd down and 1, St. Louis fighting back. Koizumi's 20th completion. That is Homer J's 7th reception.
Let's go now. 18 Gator.
Yeah, let's go sack lunch.
5.
Handoff, Kilgore, 12 carries, 51 yards. Payne Price at it again, wearing down this Florida defense. 9 minutes to go. Sharks need a response. St. Louis needs a response. Kilgore trying to respond for Washington. Price doesn't go anywhere. Another critical 3rd down coming up for the Wildcats. 3rd down and 3. 2nd and 7 for St. Louis. They flip it outside, and that goes nowhere. Bobby Green with the catch, but a loss of 2 yards. Washington cannot convert the third down. Just Stevens' 4th incompletion of the day. Rochelle Johnson with his 3rd catch. On a little RPO. Good read from Holdorf. Another San Diego first down.
Let's go now. 18 Gators. Get it.
Koizumi taking off and running and has a first down at the 21-yard line. And around the corner, San Diego has a 17-yard score. That is a rare carry for Corvin McNeil as Payne Price took a breather.
Come on, set. 10 Lobo.
Don't forget, vertical Hugos win tonight. We're up to 19 called numbers, and 19 was the last one. McCray on the carry, 2nd down 11 for St. Louis. Still no room to run for Junior McCray today, down to 1:05 to go in the 3rd quarter. Matt Wilson going to take off and run. Washington was all over that, but a penalty marker, another face mask on the Knights. That's the 2nd of the day. That is going to give Rochester a fresh set of downs. Jake Benjamin was the culprit.
15 Lonnie. 15 Lonnie.
Wow, San Diego, another game against a 1-win team as Koizumi takes off again. Beautiful move. Pushed forward down to the 15-yard line. San Diego, just like against Denver, were really not pulling away from the Avengers, and then the second half came and San Diego flexed their literal muscles on the opponent. 3rd down and 3. Koizumi gonna run, got the first down. Good job to wait for the slide until getting the sticks. That is the end of the 3rd quarter. St. Louis in need of a response. Florida in need of a response, and Washington needs a stop. You're watching UFL Game Night here on VFN. Joe Francis got out of a sack, and that pass is incomplete, but hey, at least got rid of it. End of the 3rd quarter in both Rochester and Fresno. 7:18 to go in the 4th quarter in San Diego. I'm UFL co-founder Cameron Irvine. Coming up next, it is Cincinnati and Vegas. Mike Daggs and Gerald Smith on the call. 3rd and 11. Matt Wilson looked like he could have had the first down, and he slid short. Wilson has been running well all day. Very efficient, very smart. That was not smart. In fact, 9 yards short of the sticks. Not sure what Wilson was thinking there. Maybe he got confused. Rochester shanks the punt out of bounds. It's only a 16-yard punt. And, you know, just give you a little insight. Rochester, a number of times they have been they're bottom 5 in the league in punt average. A number of times they've been presented with boosting their punter, and they have not chose it any time. Joe Francis going to take off and run for Florida. He lost the ball. Oh my goodness, picked up by San Diego, taking it back inside the 20-yard line. Wow. Another fatal mistake for the Florida Sharks on the road here tonight. 3rd down and 13. Karen Koizumi going to take off and run. That is not going to get anywhere near what they need. So St. Louis is going to have to kick a field goal and play some defense. TJ Stevens firing it down the field. That pass is caught to the Rochester 48-yard line. That is Dorsey on the catch, his 5th of the day. The Knights' drive continues into Rochester territory. The field goal from 27 yards out is good for St. Louis. It is a 1-score game. Red zone opportunity here for San Diego as Washington's deep ball is incomplete. That one hauled in over the middle down to the 4-yard line. Pass caught by Rochelle Johnson. 253 yards for San Diego, first and goal, 5:55 to go.
Go now. 90 Wolf.
In the fourth quarter. It has been all San Diego in the second half. Handoff, Price, no.
Watch the twist.
22 for 117 now. San Diego down 8.
Easy work. It's easy work.
Washington down 7. They have a fresh set of downs. TJ Stevens and the Knights on the move. And Stevens again is sacked in the biggest of moments. Cornish with his third. Can St. Louis stop cardiac squid? Holdorf going to throw on second and goal. No, he's going to take off and run. And Zach Holdorf slides at the 1. Just shy of the sticks. He almost got his head taken off there.
Let's go. 60 Pittsburgh.
Third down and goal for San Diego. And off. Price! He didn't get in. What is Price doing? He had a lane right in front of him. Maybe Florida just wants to take another 40 seconds off the clock. Price went right. I can't believe he didn't score. Randolph's pass almost intercepted, and St. Louis gets the stop they need. With 9:32 to go in the fourth quarter. Now San Diego's just going to take the field goal. Maybe Payne Price trying not to rub it in, not sure. But the field goal is good from 18 yards out. 27-7. Is the new score. Third down and 21 for Stevens. That is caught, but it is short. 4th and 8. This is an interesting call here. 4th down and 8 for Washington. They trail by 7. It would be a long field goal from here. High 40s. They are going to kick it. 49-yard field goal for Washington. That kick is just above the crossbar. Woo! Wowzer. That was tight. Man, Joe Francis, 21 of 26. No interceptions. And they're down 20. Crazy. Francis takes the check down. I mean, it's just, when you look at Florida and you see them down by 20, you think to yourself, that doesn't make any sense with how they've played today. But they just have not made any of the big plays. The 3 biggest plays in this game were all made by San Diego. 2 fumble recoveries that resulted in points, and then the long 54-yard touchdown run by Payne Price. Porsche for the first time in a while back on the Yugo board. Card 7, yes, got it, far right.
Set, ready. 90
You are the winner. Oh, good punt by St. Louis. They end up not doing anything with that possession, but that punt zooms down to the 3-yard line. And St. Louis is going to need another stop. Florida continuing to move offensively. Larry Randolph, an up and down day for Fresno, but his Bobcats lead by 8. Can't take a safety there. Wilson on 2nd and 10, first down Rochester. Joe Francis buying time, takes off and runs way too late and takes a sack. James Corey with the beatdown.
Watch the pass.
Rochester trying to preserve their lead with 6:43 to go. St. Louis trying to get off the field. Cardiac Squid making that very difficult interception for San Diego at the 2-minute warning. It has all unraveled on the Florida Sharks.
Still first down.
You go for Holdorf.
Ready?
I'm missing 12. I do not have 12 as a called number. When did you get 12? Did I miss that one? Average on the carry for the Pioneers. It's 4th and 1 for Fresno. St. Louis just got the stop. And I would assume deep in their own territory, Fresno's going to have to punt again. 2nd and 5, and Rochester's just shy of the sticks. 3rd and 2. 2nd and 11 for San Diego. As Price gets another carry, that game is almost wrapped up. The turnovers for Florida killing them. Nice punt return for St. Louis all the way up to the Fresno 49-yard line by Milburn. Rochester just got ruled short of the sticks up in the top left-hand corner. They are calling that 4th and inches. Dijon Swan made one-man miss but could not get the first down. Meanwhile, Koizumi's got the ball down 8 with 6:15 to go. And St. Louis has positive yards on the first play of the drive. And on 4th and inches, Rochester will have to punt. So we've got Washington and St. Louis both with the football. Oh, look at this punt down to the 1-yard line. Remember, it's where the punt is first touched by the kicking team. 46-yard field goal for San Diego at the end of the game. That kick is good. That may be your last Hugo number of the night. No huddle for St. Louis, 3rd down and 3. Washington is pinned at their own 1-yard line. Koizumi taking off and running, has to secure the ball. Did she get the first down? No, 4th and inches, 5:08 to go. I mean, you got to go for this, right? St. Louis, 4th and inches. Down 8. Handoff, Junior McCray, start to the backfield. Bottled up all day. Just 25 yards on 17 carries, and the Bobcats defense does it again. Washington staying on the field, converting a 3rd down and 3. The rout is over in San Diego. That game was tied at 7 at the break. Florida attempted a 56-yard field goal, gave up a 54-yard touchdown, and the rest was history. San Diego improves to 7-2 on the season. Florida falls to a league worse 1-8. And how did Fresno get the football back? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I missed a critical play.
You ready?
Mike 58, right there.
They're gonna need some therapy after this.
Oh, okay, my bad. My bad. They stopped him on 4th down. I'm losing my mind here. Fresno's got a first down. And I thought there was a turnover I missed or something. I'm more on top of it than I thought. TJ Stevens has the Washington offense moving. First down to the 37-yard line, 3:19 to play. That is the lone team with the football in trailing position, and all games are under 5 minutes now.
60 outlaw.
Get off the field, defense.
There is a fumble, and Fresno recovers. St. Louis could have recovered the football. Stevens wide open, first down, Washington. St. Louis had an opportunity to recover a fumble on Larry Randolph. Maple Mack forced the fumble. Randolph threw it into the back of his lineman that was out there for the taking, and St. Louis does not recover. Oh, man. +5 for the New York Lightning for Porsche's victory. 3:35 left for Fresno, 3rd down and 8. St. Louis kicking themselves. They did not get the stop. 2 minutes to go in Rochester. Washington is driving. Cornish, another TFL. 3rd and 8. What are they marking that? 1st down, Fresno. Wow, that is questionable. Cardiac squid. Are we going to get a replay? Can we get one down the line, perhaps? That was very close. At first glance, it didn't look like he got it. We got to stick with Washington. Deep shot, Stevens. The pass is picked off in the end zone. Intercepted by Joe Allen. Still going. Allen past midfield. All the way down to the 42-yard line. Squid's got a 1st down for Fresno. Timeout, St. Louis. When the Rivermen need it the most, they cannot stop the ball carrier. Rochester's defense stands tall right at the end of the football game. Wow, Washington gave them all they could handle. Squid again with a 1st down. St. Louis bleeding out a little right now. The Fresno Bobcats with a win, improved to 5-4. They'd be the 3rd team above 500 in the Pacific Division. 2 full games behind San Diego after the Wildcats won again tonight. Timeout, Washington. Fresno still staying aggressive. St. Louis is out of timeouts. And St. Louis, very similar to Florida, just a couple of plays. They did not play a bad game today, but just a couple of plays. The biggest plays of the game were Fresno's. But Casey Mears has a 1st down and more. Now Washington is bleeding out on the table. Handoff, Squid walked it in. Touchdown, Bobcats. Look at the blocking at the point of attack, and Squid just using the upper body to power through. Fresno up 14. Timeout, Washington. They are out of timeouts. Kick is good for Fresno, 31-16. If you missed scores from yesterday, 27-19 Phoenix held on to beat Chicago. The Dragons gave them all they could handle. How about the Portland Huskies? 5-4. They are playing some great football right now. They clobber El Paso. Another throw from Matt Wilson. That's a 1st down. And that should just about do it in New York. Austin holds on to beat Houston 31-24. Both of those teams are now 4-5.
15 line.
And then finally, the upset in primetime. Dakota, bothered by the thunderstorms in their home building. Billy Flagg has an off night, and Wichita rumbles to a 27-6 win. Coming up, Mike Daggs and Gerald Smith have the UFL primetime game tonight. It is the Vegas Devils and the Cincinnati Vultures. 2 6-win teams trying to work their way up the UFL standings. It's coming up at the bottom of the hour right here on the Virtual Football Network. With San Diego's win, they improved to 7-2. That is tied for the 2nd best record in the league. St. Louis could have been tied for the 2nd best record in the league tonight, but they are going to fall to 6-3. Rochester improves to 7-3. They are one of a few teams that has still not had their bye. Washington gonna drop this one. They're gonna fall to 4-6. Swept by the Rochester Pioneers. And for Washington, their next game appears to be June 27th. But yeah, they have their bye week coming up. They also have played 10 games. They will host New Orleans. That's going to be a monster game because New Orleans is also just under 500. Final score in Rochester, 24-20. The Pioneers beat the Knights thanks to that Joe Allen interception in the end zone. St. Louis is down 2 scores, 1:20 to go. They need a miracle in our final game to wrap up of the night. 151 on the ground, 195 through the air for Rochester in tonight's victory. And after losing 3 of 4, Rochester is quietly now on a 2-game win streak. They only faced 8 third downs tonight. That's pretty good. Koizumi over the middle into Fresno territory, but the drive is taking entirely too long. Appreciate all of you that tuned in throughout the night here on Game Night. Another fun evening of UFL action. That pass nearly intercepted. Koizumi, 27 of 37, 212 yards and a pick and a fumble. And man, for St. Louis, this has been a shocking stretch. Only lost in week 2 to Dallas. This will be their 2nd straight loss if they can't find a way to score 2 touchdowns in 50 seconds. They have no timeouts. Don't have a lot of faith for them at this point. St. Louis's next game is on June 12th, as that 4th and 3 conversion is good, so the drive does stay alive. How about this matchup coming up Thursday, June 12th? St. Louis hosts Portland. Portland is 5-4, and they are on a roll right now. St. Louis, who has not lost at home, they are 5-0 at home. They drop to 1-3 on the road if they lose this game. So Portland's going to be going into a very tough atmosphere, but that is a candidate for game of the week. But I got to tell you guys, you're not going to believe the Thursday, June 12th slate. Listen to this. Listen to these 4 games. Vegas at Miami, San Diego at Fresno, Portland at St. Louis, Phoenix at Salt Lake. Every single team on that slate right now that is happening in 6 days is above 500. That might be the best 4-game slate of the UFL season, and you're going to see at least 3 of those matchups on primetime, or excuse me, on game night. That is a ridiculous slate. First and goal, down to 3 seconds for Karen Koizumi. Not taking off and running, and instead overthrowing a receiver in the end zone. I don't know if he would have been able to come down with that anyway, and St. Louis comes up empty down the stretch. Fresno beats St. Louis 31-16. Look at that from Cardiac Squid, 22 for 191 and 2. And I think St. Louis's run defense is going to be a topic of conversation ahead of their next game against Portland. They have got to get something going as Fresno erases a 10-0 deficit in this one to win 31-16. The final stats of that game will be available on their individual live stream on the video section of VFN or later this weekend on UFL.football. Not me, although see you later, guys. Cue the outro. That's a wrap from UFL Game Night. Your final scores: Rochester holds on to beat Washington 24-20. San Diego blanks Florida in the second half. They clobber the Sharks 30-7. And Fresno pulls the upset over St. Louis. The Rivermen are fading, need to turn it around. The Bobcats back to 5-4, over 500. They beat the Rivermen 31-16. Cincinnati and Vegas coming up next. Mike Daggs, Gerald Smith, bottom of the hour. We'll see you there. From all of us at UFL Game Night, I'm UFL co-founder Cameron Irvine, and we'll see you next time.